WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Kind of a cloudy, overcast Wednesday. We had some rain earlier. We're expecting more rain tonight. And to be honest, over the next 3 or 4 days, we're probably going to have some rain, and that may not be a bad thing. We'll go to Murfreesboro, say hello to Kelly Holcomb. He'll be with us today for about an hour. Kelly, where does your daughter play today?
She plays at Lipscomb, and I don't know who. I'm not sure who they play. I think it may be. Jerry Rice's old college, Mississippi Valley. I think.
Really?
But I'm not 100% certain on that. I know they either play them today or tomorrow. I think that's who they play today.
In the future, she would appreciate your knowing a little bit more than to say, I don't know who she's playing.
As long as I'm there, it doesn't matter, George.
Really? You think that inspires her?
Oh, I inspire her. Now, sometimes she gets irritated at me, and my son and myself can take her outside, and we'll have her kicking, screaming, fighting mad in about a minute.
Is that so? It sounds like the perfect American family.
Yes.
Billy, speaking of which, how are things in Vatican Valley?
They're good. They're good.
Good. Should we get to Terry, who's waiting patiently?
Let's do it.
It's time for Terry McCormick's, oh, Lord, Daily Titans Update. Really?
Why not? Been a week.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice. So on that front, what's going on with the Yankees? I really have not paid a lot of attention.
Well, they basically are showing some guys the door that are free agents, Rizzo and I think Verdugo and Torres among them. So they'll be needing some reinforcements.
Rizzo rumored to be going back to the Cubs.
Well, that'd be good. I mean, that would be fine because, I mean, that's where he kind of made his mark. It certainly is beloved there because I was at the game at Wrigley Field.
That's right.
Which was his return. And he got an incredible ovation in that ball game.
He was part of their team that won it all, and so those guys will never have to pay for a beer.
Yeah, he'll never have to buy a meal in Chicago again.
Exactly. So what's the latest on Will Levis?
Well, the Titans kind of went through a walkthrough type of practice today, and during the open part of that, we saw Levis throw, and I got to be honest with you, he had a little more zip on the ball than we've seen in the other times that we've seen him throw since the injury. So Brian Callahan was being very cautious, but he said that it's a situation where they're hopeful that he's back. So I got to think that he's trending in the right direction, George. Now, whether he gets all the way there by Sunday to their satisfaction, we don't know yet, but I think he's trending in the right direction if he doesn't suffer any setbacks.
Okay. You tell me what the news of the day is. I'll play dumb. I'm good at it.
The Titans have added. There was a cheap shot there, George, and I didn't take it. So I'm going to take the high road.
Wow. Okay. Remember, I took it hoping that you and the child would get a victory.
That is true. So
that's about as good as I can do.
So consider us even now. But nonetheless, the Titans signed a safety today. Mike Edwards, formerly of the Chiefs, formerly of Tampa Bay, most recently with Buffalo, wasn't getting the playing time that he wanted with the Bills, asked for his release, and lo and behold, he's a Tennessee Titan now, and they can probably use him because Quandre Diggs is out for the season, placed on injured reserve along with Lloyd Cushenberry. So they can certainly use some help. Not sure how much he'll be able to do this week because he just walked in the door this morning, but it'll be interesting to see if they can get him up to speed and how quickly. A veteran guy shouldn't take that long.
Terry, what else?
Well, talked to Jack Gibbons today, and Jack had a big game on Sunday, had 14 tackles, 2 for loss, and a half a sack. So Brian Callahan said that, everybody was wondering when they were going to incorporate newly acquired Jerome Baker into the lineup at linebacker and try to get him in the mix. He said there's no need to right now because of the way that Jack Gibbons has played the last couple of games. So they seem pretty happy with him, even though he's a little bit limited athletically. They think that, his smarts and his ability to diagnose plays very quickly can be a benefit, and it was on Sunday.
What's his background?
He played, I think, at Abilene Christian for most of his career. Made the team as an undrafted rookie. Or was on the practice squad for most of that, I think 2 years ago maybe. And then spent 1 year at Minnesota, University of Minnesota, when the Titans signed him as an undrafted. And he was the starting linebacker for most of the year last year. And then had that job through camp. Then when they acquired Ernest Jones, he went back to the bench and played in special teams, and now he's back as a starter for now.
Good for him. He's overcome a lot of obstacles to get where he is. I like the story. Terry, we'll end it there. Tomorrow, don't bring the hat.
Maybe. We'll see.
Talk to you.
Bring it, Terry.
All right.
You stay out of it, you communist.
That's
See
my
you, Terry.
phrase, George.
See
You're going to have to start paying me money when y'all start using my phrases.
Wow. The chief,
patented by me.
well, the chief, the one who has violated those terms of the Geneva Convention is young William.
Yeah, William has.
William's
has no
gotta
care
come up.
whatsoever.
He's got to come up with new stuff. Do you have an update of any worth today?
I do. It's a pretty good update.
Is it really? Meat on the bone?
You got some meat on the bone.
Okay.
We had a lot going on today. Yeah. Yesterday it was obviously
No, don't make
a busy
excuses.
night. Anyway, it's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Well, the college football playoff rankings reveal was last night, and we've got our brackets. Our first bracket, it's probably going to change from here on out. But number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Miami. And number 4, BYU. You have Tennessee as the 8 seed playing 9-seeded Indiana. 5 seed Ohio State playing 12 seed Boise State. 7 seed Penn State playing the 10 seed Notre Dame. And then 6 seed Texas playing 11 seed Alabama.
Okay. If you'll notice, I was pretty close with what I put out there on Monday.
You're pretty close. You had SMU. SMU was one of the first couple teams out.
So before I get, a bunch of Tide hate here.
From the Tide Pride Club.
This is how I feel. Alabama did not deserve to be in this first deal. If they beat LSU, absolutely, put them in. But this 11 thing feels like the worldwide leader may have pushed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they deserve to be in this first one.
I'm kind of with you, George. I'm not sure they deserve to be in it either. And if they do beat LSU, yeah, they're going in. But I just think that ESPN, like you said, everybody, the big money wants Alabama in there.
Yep. I was looking at, Indiana. They were the 9 seed. And I know their strength of schedule is not great, but that's probably a sign. If they lose to Ohio State, does Indiana get in?
I had Indiana as an 8. Tennessee is a 9. In other words, who gets the home game
it's also
reversed?
it's hard to argue higher for Indiana.
Well, their schedule has not helped them.
No.
Now, their schedule's about to get a little harder. They're about to take Michigan behind the woodshed Saturday for the first time, since FDR. Then they go to Ohio State. I don't think they have to win at Ohio State, but I think it would help them not to get beat 49-7. Be competitive, show that you belong. I will also sort of throw this cynical line out there, and I did it yesterday. Indiana, if they had a loss on their resume to Vandy, they wouldn't be in the top 12.
That's fair.
That is fair. And you look at it, George, and you look at the ACC's got one, the Big 12's only got one. I mean, I think that's pretty apparent. That's all that's probably going to get in from those two conferences. Would you say so too?
Feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
So in watching that show last night, there's a lot of bobbing and weaving going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as has been said, nobody quite knows what the criteria is.
And
it feels like it gets made up as we go along.
But there is a lot of built-in Alabama bias, as we know. And Tony talked about it yesterday. I mean, that Vanderbilt loss I know looks better, but what if that was, I don't know. I mean, there's other 2-loss teams with similar similar loss. And I know they beat Georgia. Them beating Georgia is carrying them right now.
Absolutely.
I was just amazed the other day, though, on College Game Day that Saban was lobbying for it. I don't know if y'all heard it, but they were up there with their pointers, and Saban was lobbying for Alabama.
Yeah. Well, he may have a bonus coming if they get in.
That's right.
Had some action last night. Mike New and Ball State get a big win at home.
I don't think so.
Oh, no. Well, they covered. Did they not win that game?
So for you, covering.
Oh, that's my bad. Miami of Ohio ended.
Billy, figure it out.
Miami of Ohio ends up beating Ball State. That's on me. 27-21.
Oh, we know.
They have, I will say this for Ball State, they've got very nice turf. Now, Central Michigan, on the other hand, it looks like they've let the dogs in, and the dogs had a poop show.
Wow,
that
George.
turf. Oh, my God. Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
I cut it over there for a few minutes, and I didn't even pay attention to the turf, the Chippewas.
The turf looked bad. By the way, the field is named after former Vandy athletic director Roy Kramer, and I think the guy that replaced him at Central Michigan, Herb Duromedy.
How about that?
You won't find that on every show.
Wow, that's some useless information we'll never use ever again unless we're on Jeopardy, and that'll never be a topic.
We've got more action tonight. Ohio at 0-8 Kent State, and then Northern Illinois and Western Michigan.
Let me say this. If you intend to watch Kent State, put a bag over your head. They are bad.
They're awful.
That is one bad team.
Well, the Panthers on Sunday are going to start Bryce Young quarterback against the Giants. I would guess Andy Dalton is still unable to play unless.
I wonder if it's more of, okay, let's trot him out there again. He has not done half bad.
Yeah.
Since he's come back, which, if I'm Will Levis, I'm kind of taking note of that.
And he's where all the money is as well.
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of that in the NFL right now, where there's some lying about injuries going on.
Go to your next story.
Well, the Browns general manager, Andrew Berry, is non-committal on Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback next year. He said, really our focus with Deshaun, I would say, for any player with a season-ending injury is first and foremost to make sure he gets healthy. Everything else we'll deal with at a later moment.
Can I, maybe sort of say what he really wanted to say?
Read between the lines for us, George.
That's exactly what we're going to do. We hope Deshaun goes away. Now, you talk about an albatross around a franchise's neck.
Why you don't pay all that money to someone who's kind of he did okay in Houston, but good, great. I don't know. It's just it hadn't worked out. I was there. I want the Brownies to do really good, but they just can't get right. And Deshaun Watson is one of many that can't get right.
I guess deep down, it is a shock to me when I watched him this year how he was a statue. Man, when he was in Houston, he could fly all over the place. And watching him in Cleveland, I mean, he looked like he ought to be in a wheelchair.
Plus, his eyes, you can tell by his eyes, he don't look like he wants to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned yesterday, Lipscomb is playing Arkansas. That's actually tonight.
Yep.
At 7 o'clock in Fayetteville. Keep an eye on Lipscomb tonight in that game. Lenny Acuff has a good team.
Lenny Acuff is a really good coach, and they are the preseason favorite in their league. The win over Duquesne is not nearly as big an upset as the names might appear.
Yeah. Back to college football, Vanderbilt, and no surprise, they have sold out their remaining home games, South Carolina and Tennessee at First Bank Stadium. I'll be interested to see what the crowd looks like this Saturday, the split between Carolina and Vandy, but also that Tennessee game. That turns out, if both teams keep winning, that's going to be a tough ticket.
Going to be a lot on the line, it would appear.
Yeah. But that's what I got.
Okay, so you're done. Kelly, your opinion. Enough meat on the bone?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I got a little nugget there, and you brought some useless information, which is always good to bring to the table. So I mean, I was good.
Are you saying most every show I do that?
Well, we've got a lot of useless information at times. Yes.
Stay tuned. After the break, Mr. Useless will introduce you to the hardest working man in sports in our city. That would be the Tennesseans' Mike Organ. This is 94.9, The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Stadium. Vanderbilt and South Carolina kick off at 3:15. Pre-game coverage starts at 1:30 on 94.9 The Fan.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
So let's get right down to it. Our weekly Wednesday visit with Mike Organ from the Tennessean comes up right now. He is, after all, the hardest working sports person in our city. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, George. How are you?
I'm good. I want to start somewhere that I think you're doing a little investigating on. I've had some people ask me, okay, Vandy's bowl eligible. Does a win over South Carolina move them up the bowl food chain? And I know you're doing some investigating of it, and I've been sort of a smart aleck and said that the Ayatollah Sankey ultimately is the one who, in a smoke-filled room, decides, okay, you're going here, you're going here, you're going here, and you're going to the Gator Bowl. Am I close to right on that?
Yeah, and I think you are. And right now, and you're right, I'm doing a kind of a big picture on the Music City Bowl, not this year, but where it's, what its future is with the college football playoffs, going now to 12 teams and then possibly expanding beyond. And do we get one of those games if it expands? And you and I have spoken in the past recently that the Dome Stadium makes it very likely that we get one of those, provided they don't change their mind and not put a dome on it because the Titans are so bad. But if that plan goes through, they keep building that place, which, by the way, I swung by, I guess it was 2 or 3 days ago, and that thing's getting close. It's coming up. You can tell it's a football stadium, I'll say that. Or you can tell it's one of these new type of football structures. There's enough to it where you can see that now. But as far as the immediate future, right now, the projections, the consensus is that Illinois will play South Carolina, and that's as of today. And I think your assessment that if Vanderbilt beats South Carolina, upsets South Carolina, then I think, yeah, you slot Vanderbilt into that place, and they become probably the most likely. Now, does the commissioner allow that to happen? It's a good point because, you've got a red hot team, playing 3 miles away. Is that what you want? And I think that'll be decided through some conversations with Clark Lee and Candace and the commissioner and obviously Scott Ramsey with Music City Bowl. But in the past, it's always worked out well when Vanderbilt went to the Music City Bowl. A lot will depend on the options. I mean, Music City Bowl or Liberty Bowl, where would you want to go? You'd want to go to the Music City Bowl, obviously. So Gator Bowl, anybody would prefer a Florida Bowl. So, but right now, I checked, let me see, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, CBS Athlon, and 24/7 Sports. And of all those, the consensus is Illinois and South Carolina. The other likelihoods are Michigan from the Big Ten. That's the only other one. And then from the SEC, SI has LSU, CBS has Arkansas, and ESPN has Missouri representing the SEC. When you and I spoke earlier, you talked about a possible Vanderbilt-Michigan matchup, and I think that's another thing, obviously, that will play into the decision is who the matchup would be, and I think that'd be a really good matchup for everybody.
So let's play Scott Ramsey for a minute, Mike.
Yeah.
South Carolina will come in here Saturday, and my guess, not that I know anything, would be that Scott and the people that figure all this stuff out would say they're not as likely to travel really well a second time in 6 weeks.
Right. win or lose. I totally agree. If they lose, they're definitely not likely. And if they win, they'll still – South Carolina does travel well. I mean, we all know that, but they won't – I don't think you'll get the same kind of stay that you would have, which is what Scott would be interested in, getting the extra 2 nights, 3 nights in the hotels and the, visiting the restaurants. It would just be a kind of, we got to go back to Nashville. Let's make it a quick trip. So I don't think they're attractive to the bowl or to the local businesses. So I think that's another, negative about the having South Carolina here for sure.
Mike, we pay attention to Eddie George, not only because he's the head coach at Tennessee State, but because, we covered him as a Titan. I did a post-game show with him the first year they were here when they played at Vandy. I wondered at the beginning, does he know what he's getting into? And the answer apparently, for the most part, is yes, because he's really done very well.
George, you're right about one thing there. He's done very well. Did he know what he was getting into at Tennessee State? I'm not so sure. The place is a mess financially right now. It's basically broke. The aristocrats can't travel anymore. They don't have a sports information director for football. There's just the school has the mismanagement of the finances has caught up to them for years and years, and they're out of money. Now, even with that, I mean, nobody would have known what they were getting into with Eddie coming in 21. But he has done a really good job, and he has navigated his way through a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulties, including that, the financial situation. The team doesn't stay in a hotel the night before a game anymore. And I'm talking about home games, which has always been a long tradition and is with every team in the country. They like to get away from, the dorms and like to get away and get in a hotel and kind of be by themselves. And that they can't afford to do that anymore at TSU. But Eddie's done a remarkable job, I have to say, under those circumstances. He's one game below 500. He was at 5. No, I'm sorry. He is now at 500. He was one game above 500 after the win over Howard. And then last week's loss against UT Martin put him back at 500. I expect him to get back to above 500 Saturday when they play Western Illinois in Macomb, Illinois. And they're still in the running for a playoff. Last week's loss to UT Martin basically took them out of the chance to win the Big South OVC. That's come down to a race between UT Martin and SEMO. And but if they can still finish with 7 or even 8 wins, then it'll be the most wins since 2013, I think, if they get to 8. And if they get in the playoffs, which I think they're still in the running for a large bid, then it'd be the first since 2013 as well. So to answer your question, yes, Eddie's done a really good job, and again with some challenges that he's faced.
Oh my God! And look, a lot of people that are listening to this are hearing these challenges for the first time. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Your gut feeling: does he want to come back next year?
Yeah, you know what? I wondered how this was going to go with Eddie. Eddie could do anything he wants, and has done just about everything he wants. He's a true
unbelievably talented.
Yes. And, he's acted on Broad. He started businesses. He's trying to help bring baseball here. He's run. I covered him in a triathlon one time. He showed up and ran a triathlon a few years back.
What?
He's a triathlon, and he can do anything. He can play golf every day if he wants to. And I thought, 5 years, Eddie, maybe you should have signed a 3-year deal, and see if you really like this. And to my surprise, I think he's enjoying it now more than he has at any point. And not just because of the wins and losses. He started 6-3 last year, and he was 6-3. Started 6-3 this year, so he's got it on he's improved the record and turned it into a winning program. They're ranked in the top 25 until last week, and that obviously has a lot to do with it. But I think he's really actually genuinely enjoying this. I think he's found his niche. Not that those other things weren't, acting and all that other stuff, but I think maybe this is more comfortable than anything. I asked him, I'll tell you what, he went back to Ohio State 2 weeks ago because TSU was on.
Yeah.
And they had the Heisman House there, and he was there for the Ohio State-Nebraska game. And I asked him then, I said, Eddie, I don't mean to get nostalgic or sentimental, but did you realize that you're 51 now, and you're still heavily, heavily as involved with football now as you've ever been? And he said, I'm like Don Coyon. He said, they just keep drawing me back.
Great answer.
I try to get away from it. Football just keeps drawing me back. And I think he's kind of finally found his niche. I don't know if you call football a niche for Eddie George, but I think he's, this is it. And he told me then, he said, I love what I'm doing. He said, I'm enjoying coaching more than I ever thought I would. And he said to go back to Ohio State and remember where it kind of all started, at least on this level, and get ready. And, he's nominated now for the Hall of Fame, and he's made the final 50. So he's advanced in that poll. I think he's really happy right now. And I think he's back next year. And the year, next year will be the end of his contract. It'll be his 5th year. And I think, the school's going to make it through these financial issues. It's a state school, so it'll make it through. And then I think he'll come back after that. And I would never have said that before these last 2 or 3 weeks after having some conversations with him. I figured he would finish his 5 years out because the one thing he's never been is a quitter, and he didn't want to be perceived as a quitter. But now I think he goes even beyond the 5 years.
Kelly, great stuff so far from Mike. Don't blow it.
Seriously, yeah, I know. I'm just sitting here listening. And when y'all were talking about the challenges that he had, it got me to thinking about the landscape of all this college stuff, like all the challenges at these small schools like TSU, like the Austin Peas and the Tennessee Techs and places like that. And then I was thinking, because I talked to somebody the other day, and you look at UAB and what they literally had 500 people in the stands, and we all know the reason why, but like their head coach is making $1.6 million a year, and you got 500 people in the stands. How are these teams, Mike, and I don't know if you can answer this, but how are they going to survive in the next 4, 5, 6 years?
I have no idea, Kelly, and because this was not laid out. This didn't happen where everybody got in a boardroom and said, okay, let's start playing college football. Okay, let's pay the players this X amount. Let's pay the coaches this amount. How much money? Well, first you start with how much money do we have coming in? Okay, we're going to have an average of $2,000 to $3,000 a game at $20 a pop. Okay, now let's decide, how do we pay the coaches? How do we pay the players? How do we pay our maintenance to keep our facilities up? How do we pay for our travel? That's not how it was done. This was all done completely backwards and sporadically, where we got here by going all the way around the world. And so we are where we are, and there was no plan, no method to get here. So, yeah, UAB's got to pay its players as well as its coaches. So you see these teams now scrambling and raising ticket prices. Even UT, which has all the money in the world, are, increasing its prices, calling it an entertainment fee or a talent fee, whatever it is. And that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of creative ways to get money from your fan base and the government and in every other way, because now you've got to start paying your players, and your coaches aren't going to take any less. You want to have good coaches to continue to bring in good players. So they're not going to, forfeit any of their money. I have no idea how they're going to do it. And you're right, the Tennessee Techs and the TSUs, and I include the MTSUs, and the group of five, I throw them in there too. It's going to be an uphill battle because if you get good, if you have a player that turns out to be a really good player at any of those places, either TSU, Tech, MTSU, UAB, then they're going to go to another school, step up a level, and then you got to start all over again.
So I like the point that you made, Mike, with you saying that they did everything backwards. Do you think at some point, because they put a $22 million cap on this stuff, and it's for the whole athletic department. So do you think if everything's going backwards, do you think the NCAA ever goes back to Congress and say, hey, we need some more help in this. We need to not pay these guys $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Can y'all come up with something that maybe say, hey, paying a kid $25,000 or $50,000, or is the genie already out of the bottle, or as they say, the toothpaste is already out? You can't put it back in. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I'm afraid that's where we're at, and because of the Supreme Court decision, it's going to be hard. I mean, short of going back to the Supreme Court, and I think I've mentioned on this show before, the decision that was written said going forward, and I can never remember the justice that wrote the decision, but he said going forward, just to let you know, we will continue to side on the side of the athlete going forward. Yeah. So basically they're saying, don't even bring this back to us or we'll make it worse than it is, So short of coming up with a union, and that's what it was done in all the professional sports, and that's what we have now. We have a union. I mean, Gino Ariema said it last week at the or maybe 2 weeks ago at the conference media day. He said, let's just quit playing and acting like we're an amateur sport. We're not. We are a professional entity now, and let's start practicing that instead of fooling ourselves and saying that we're still amateurism. We're not. And we're going to have to do things. Basically, he was saying we're going to do things to raise money in order to pay the players. And that's the balance was completely weighed toward the universities. 99.5% up until this started. The universities got all the money, and if they had just shared some of it at some point, and they had so many opportunities to do so, then it might not have gotten to this. But because the universities would refuse to pay players beyond the stipends, whatever it was, $25 a week or $200 a month, whatever it was, then that's how we got here. And like you said, the toothpaste is out of the tube now, and I don't know how you get it back with it having made it to the Supreme Court.
So, Mike, this is the last thing here, but I'm barking up the wrong tree, and I don't even know if you can answer this, but I'm thinking to myself, because I'm over – here's where I'm coming from, and here's my gripe. I'm over watching college quarterbacks run around, and now it's starting to go to the NFL. And then you think how popular the game is right now, and I think people's knowledge of the game has gone down a little bit. They just love watching college football, and it's exciting, but it seems like you've got 3 preseason games now in the National Football League. The guys don't play, and it takes 3 or 4 or 5 weeks to get everybody going where they're productive and doing all that. But it seems to me like, is there ever a situation, because I was watching the MAC schools last night, and we all know that when you're in the SEC or when you're in the Big Ten, it's hard when you're not one of the Big Ten or the SECs. If you're an OVC, if you're a group of 5, like we're talking about MTSU, or if you're at Miami of Ohio, or you're at Ohio or somewhere like that, there's nobody coming to the games. And I hope I'm wrong with this, but is football in the near, maybe not so near, but down the road, is it in trouble? Because I'm getting where, and I played, I understand that, but it's unwatchable for me right now with these guys running around. Nobody's getting taught anything. Plus, you add on the penalties. I mean, even somebody said it in college the other night. They're throwing so many penalties, and one of the guys said, well, that's amazing. We didn't have a penalty on this one. It's becoming unwatchable to me. And is football in trouble later on down the road with all this stuff?
Yeah, I don't like anything that's happening right now, Kelly. You highlighted all the things that are wrong and are going south, and you started with nobody being at the games, and you're right. And you know, we started this call with George and I talking about the Dome Stadium for the Titans. Well, the Dome Stadium is going to be nice and look nice and all that, but it's also going to seat fewer, a considerable amount fewer, 5,000, 6,000 fewer. And that's because people don't go to the games anymore. It's just too much trouble, and it's just too expensive when you throw in parking and concessions and all that. And all that's just going to continue to go up, back to what you and I were talking about, the schools trying to make more money. So that's going to be one of the ways they can make more money is charge more for tickets, charge more for concessions. And if they have parking, charge more for parking. All the ancillary things will be the things that they try to raise money in order to continue to function with this added cost of paying players. So that is bad. The refereeing, you and I have talked about this before. There's no flow to any games anymore because not only are the calls made, but there's so many reviews that come with the calls. And I have no idea what they're looking at in those booths for so long. I mean, it's like somebody, it's like television has called down and say, hey, stay in the booth a little longer so we can go to a commercial or something. I don't know what it is. But they stay in those booths for so long, and then they have these long discussions. And then they come out of these discussions and they say they wave the flag off. There was no infraction sometimes. So,
That's right.
you know, I liked football when there were calls made, and they might have been a bad call, and you had to overcome it. You went into the game knowing you might have to overcome a bad call. That was football.
Yeah,
That's, you know, when we were growing up, that was football. You know, we didn't clip on that play, but that's all right. We'll get it back. And the human error was part of it, and I didn't mind it because it usually balanced out. You know, so I just don't like. You know, it's all television now because it's so much easier to watch, you know, on a 80-inch screen in your living room and go to your own bathroom and go to your own refrigerator than it is to go to a game. And I say that having never been to one. I don't ever go to games. I'm always sitting in the press box with my own restroom and with food up there, and it's still more trouble. It's more trouble for me than sitting here in my living room to watch a game. So I know it is for the average fan.
Mike, let's talk about Vanderbilt. For the first time, I think Vanderbilt athletics might be more of an attraction, at least this year, than going to a Titans or a Preds game. Mark Byington started their season. They put up 102 points. Brentwood Academy product. Tyler Tanner looked good. They've got a fun product to watch. Would you agree with me there? I mean, when's the last time we could say that?
Never. I mean, even Billy, this is more this is a more attractive team than the James Franklin years. And even when James had the team built, and you know we knew it wasn't a fluke that he had managed somehow to bring in better players. This team is more fun because it has a quarterback. You know, we started the season saying this. It has a quarterback that not only is talented, gritty, headstrong, knows the game, but he's the perfect fit for what they've done. And I credit Clark Lee and his staff for doing that, for building an offense around this quarterback. It makes watching them so much fun now because you never feel like they're out of a game. You know, they play Texas toe-to-toe. They beat Alabama, and then they just basically come out. And maybe I don't want to say manhandle, but you felt like the whole game last week Vanderbilt was going to beat Auburn. And they did manhandle Kentucky. I mean, that was a game that you said, you know, they're going to win this game. They go out there and they did win the game. So they are very fun to watch, and so much of it has to do with the quarterback, and that's the way it always is in football. If there's a good quarterback, then it changes the dynamics.
Mike, great stuff today. Thank you as always. We'll do it again next Wednesday.
Okay, look forward to it, guys.
Mike Organ from the Tennessean, not only the hardest working man in sports, but gave us some great stuff today. After the break, if you think I've said some dumb things, and you're right, I got a coach that popped off recently that really looks dumb. I'll tell you about it when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You know, when I was growing up on the Division I level at the major conferences, the football coach would get 5 years virtually no matter what. And as we all know, that's not necessarily the case anymore. Started in the NFL where Steve Wilkes got fired after 1 year, coaches get fired after 2. 5, you've probably done something really good. What makes it harder now is that very seldom does a coach who has done really well, but all of a sudden has a team that goes in the tank, seldom does that person get the benefit of the doubt. So let's go to Oklahoma State. 3-6 overall, 0-6 in Big 12 play, And Mike Gundy, with that interesting hairdo, came out with the Spalding Guide of what not to say.
This place has had tremendous success for 18 and a half years or 19. I can't do the math real good, and so unfortunately in life, most people are weak. And as soon as things start to not go as good as what they thought, they fall apart and they panic. And then they want to point the finger and blame other people. You see it happen in everyday life. People do it all the time. That's why I refuse to watch the TV and watch the news, because I get tired of people complaining and bitching about this and that versus just doing something about it and trying to figure out a way to make it better. Well, that's what happens in college athletics. And as Jenny said, she's exactly right. It's just on the bigger stage where people can voice their opinion. And in most cases, the people that are negative and voicing their opinion are the same ones that can't pay their own bills. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not taking care of their own family. They're not taking care of their own job, but they have an obligation to speak out and complain about others because it makes them feel better. But then in the end, when they go to bed at night, they're the same failure that they were before they said anything negative about anybody else.
Oh, wow. So then, Billy, can you show the apology that Gundy put out there?
Yeah, he put something out on Twitter and apologized for that.
I think he did it on his Monday night radio show. This came out, I think, Saturday.
Yeah, he said on Twitter, "I apologize to those who my comments during Monday's media call offended. My intent was not to offend any of our fans who have supported us in this program through the years."
What did he think was going to come out of that little whatever?
I don't know, but our world is offended about everything. That's for sure. But yeah, like you're 3-6, Hoss, and
he doesn't have much room to talk.
What's that? Oh, well, yeah, Billy, but I'm not getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. You know, I made some bad picks. Let's move on. Let's get over it.
I'm saying Gundy doesn't have much room to talk.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me with my picks. No, he does not. He does not. But he's been there for a long time. But I was thinking when he was talking, I'm like, I got lost in it. Like, what has he like? How many big games has he won, George? Do we know?
Well, now let me say this: Gundy has done
he's done well at Oklahoma State, but like, what has he like? I know he's had some good teams, but like, he's never been. I don't know. It's never been perennial. He's always hung around. You know what It's like a hang around situation.
Yeah, he has had a couple of 10-win seasons. Remember, it's in a state where Oklahoma has always been king. Until they forgot to go get a quarterback, and now they're not quite the king they had been. Gundy, if you remember, had a brief flirtation
with Tennessee.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Among 8 other coaches.
Okay, so run through some of his records at Oklahoma State.
Well, he got there in 2005, had some 7-win seasons, 11 wins in 2010, 12-1 in 2011, went to the Fiesta Bowl, 10-win season, 10-win season.
5 10-win seasons and a 12-win season.
But Kelly's right. I mean, he has yet to, get into national championship contention, which obviously isn't easy, but
now, I get what George is saying. It's hard, man, because you're in the state of Oklahoma, and the Sooners are they're the patriarch of that state. I understand that, but still, like they got a lot of money down there too. I mean, there's some J.R. Ewings and some T. Boone Pickens and all that. Yeah,
yes,
that's right. You know what I'm saying?
He dumped a boatload of money on them. I know we got to go to the break. Stat of the day is coming up, and then we'll have our weekly visit with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. And my guess is he and Billy will discuss my bowling tournament. No, maybe not. Different bowling, huh? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the plug. Stay tuned. This is 94.9 The Fan. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, Don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company. Easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
When there's work to do, ground to break, and a reputation to uphold, you need the powerful, durable Kubota RTVX, North America's #1 selling diesel utility vehicle. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, or save up to $1,000. Now through December 31st. See us at Krebs Kubota or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer. Convenient locations in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Visit us online at KrebsKubota.com.
When you want all the
going in and the score, blast the score. He wrist one, they score.
And don't forget the
oh, what a stop! Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is Nashville, we have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Nashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Experience the thrill of gaming glory at Harrah's Metropolis Casino and Hotel, just a little over 2 hours northwest of Nashville off I-24. Call 1-800-HARRAHS and reserve your room today. Indulge in appetizing dining experiences along with the hottest slots and table gaming. As a Caesars Rewards destination, every moment you spend at Harrah's Metropolis earns you points across the entire Caesars empire. It's your time to win at Harrah's Metropolis. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Is Jordan Love worse than he should be right now?
How can you not say that? He is. You know what it is? It's reminding me of shades of the conversations we had around Josh Allen last year, that he's really good and will put your team in a position to win. But also there's that moment where he can put his team in a position to lose, or at least put his team at a deficit.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Jared Goff's my MVP right now. Lamar's been outstanding. But when I look at this Detroit Lions offense and the way that Jared Goff has been handling his business, I am so impressed with him. And I know that this Lions team would not be in the position that they're in without Jared Goff. He's been unbelievable.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. You can't miss a moment with Greeny.
If I had a vote for MVP to this point, I would give it to Jaden Daniels. He has given them a belief they didn't previously have. He's had Heisman moments. He has completely changed the entire trajectory of an organization through this play and the force of his leadership and personality. My midseason MVP is Jaden Daniels.
Mike Greenberg. Green.
It's a picture of a shower. And he said, and I quote, "This is what I built with the money you paid me to do the book. So I'll think of you every time I use it." He just spoke those words aloud. They cannot be unspoken. That is a sentence that can never be unheard. That is now an image that can never be unseen. I think it has to mean the end of our friendship.
Greeny. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
All right, before Kelly's got to get out of here and we talk with Clark Lee, it's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. They've got a few locations, one at Old Hickory, one out in Hendersonville, and another one in Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com.
If you end up in a collision, you need to see these folks. Stan Harrison and his entire crew, they do really good work.
Awesome people. All right. Here's what we got. We're going college hoops. Lipscomb plays Arkansas tonight in college basketball. Last season, Lipscomb beat a Power 5 school. Can you name that team? They're in the ACC.
I think it's Louisville, Kelly.
Louisville. Yeah, it's Louisville, and I'm gonna mic drop on that.
Well, hold on. Let's at least celebrate the victory for 10 seconds. Can I see Louisville?
No.
Oh, it was 2 years ago they beat Louisville.
That's right.
Oh,
George.
Quick to the
but you
trigger.
know what?
On that one.
But you know what?
Y'all were so confident.
We deserve so much better than this. That's a lovely picture y'all found.
Yes.
Yeah. Kelly?
Whatever, Billy. Save it. Thanks, George.
Save it.
See
Kelly,
y'all.
see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
See ya.
Okay, we welcome all of you into the 4 o'clock hour. And we got some good stuff headed your way from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, beginning with our weekly visit with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee, which is brought to you by the folks at Pancoast Benefits. You may have not seen the story Vandy announcing earlier today. Their final 2 home games against South Carolina and Tennessee are sold out.
And no, I did not talk to you about talk to him about your bowling event. But
that's okay.
I talked to Vanderbilt's bowling event. So that did come up.
Okay.
But maybe we get Clark out to the bowling event.
Who knows? He might be in a great mood at that point. Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
A huge win over Auburn. First time Vanderbilt has beaten Auburn and Alabama the same season since 1955. I know you mentioned that earlier this week. Didn't even know until after the game. Obviously, that's not something you're thinking about during the game, but pretty cool to see that and obviously get bowl eligible. Just what does that mean? I mean, obviously, don't have a ton of time now, still in the thick of SEC play to think about things like this, but it's got to be cool for the program to make history after a game like that and get bowl eligible.
I think it's an important marker for us. I don't want to dismiss it because we celebrated it and we're proud of that accomplishment. And yet, it's just very natural for us to turn the page and keep pushing forward. I don't think any of us here internally want any of this to end, so how do we stretch it for as long as we can possibly stretch it? We're also faced with a finish to the schedule. It's going to be really challenging. And so every week in this conference, if you don't have your full focus on the next opponent, you're exposing yourself to, potential embarrassment. Honestly, this is a league that is just, the teams are so good. So it was easy for us to obviously celebrate the accomplishment and the marker on Saturday, to come in on Sunday and immediately shift our attention to what's next. And I've been proud of the way the guys have done that. I think this week is both, focusing in on South Carolina and their identity, their personality in all 3 phases. It's also about trying to get the freshest possible team that we can have for Saturday, because this has been a long year, and this 6-game stretch here through the middle of the season without a bye has been particularly physical and trying. And so we've tried to manipulate the schedule to do the best we can to get guys feeling good, so that we can be fresh and fast and give South Carolina our best shot. I mean, they're a really good team, and I think they've really settled into a nice identity of complementary football, and really dynamic defensive play and turning the ball over to their offense, and their offense capitalizing on short fields. So it'll be a challenge, but we're excited to play at home, and again, excited to reach for more.
Coach, I want to go offensively. Obviously, maybe it wasn't a pretty win over Auburn, but the offense was able to do enough there at the end on a long drive and win the game. How is Diego feeling? How's Eli feeling? Cedric, the guys are obviously beat up. No one's officially been ruled out yet, but how are those guys feeling? And on Diego, do you think him being banged up has contributed to some of the struggles and trying to find new ways to use what he's capable of within this offense?
Well, we're probably about where every team is this time of year, and again, just particularly a team in the SEC that's still developing depth within the roster, and so I think we've had to pay attention to these things throughout the season. As far as the availability, and Seti and Diego, those guys have attacked the week. I think in some ways they're feeling better. Obviously, there's always going to be these lingering, nagging kind of bumps and bruises that are just part of managing a season, but the workload of a season. As far as the offense and effectiveness, I think a couple of things here as we get late in the season. One is we're playing against some really good defenses. Mm-hmm. We probably underperformed against Ball State. They came in and were the more spirited team, and that's probably the most disappointed I've been outside of the Georgia State game with respect to how our team not approached the game, but how we played in the game. But outside of that one, I think we've kind of executed some level of strategy that's allowed us to win. The offense came up huge at the end of the Auburn game to put distance between us and them to close it out. I do think some of the newness of what we're doing and how we're attacking teams has worn off, and good coaches find answers. So we need to find a counterpunch here, and that counterpunch doesn't need to be to go out and try to score 40 points. It needs to be to go out and execute our strategy, which is about staying on schedule. It's about maintaining possession of the ball. It's about getting to third and manageable on conversions so that we can open up explosive shots. That's the challenge. Again, I think both the level of defenses we're facing and the idea that they've kind of gotten used to the rhythm of what it is to play against a Vanderbilt offense now is forcing us into a position where, again, we need to find that counterpunch. I don't sense that we're any more fatigued or any more sore than any other team, and so the challenge this time of year is independent of how you feel physically or mentally, is that you carry the process through the week and you show up ready to focus and execute over 4 quarters. That's what good teams do, and that's what we're trying to be as a good team.
Coach, with the college football playoff first reveal, the rankings coming out on Tuesday, I'm so interested to talk to coaches about this. You hear from some coaches who don't mention it at all, but it's out there, and obviously with 12 teams that get in, there's certain games out there that mean more, obviously, down the stretch of a season. So how do you approach that with your guys? And not that it's motivation, but certain players have different motivation. But how do you approach that conversation with your guys, especially now that it's a 12-team playoff?
Well, you don't. You just,
if at all.
Yeah, to me, we've talked. I think it was maybe after the Ball State game, and as we started preparation for Texas, we may have talked about the idea that you can, that within our reach is the ability to become a playoff team and to do reach for these things that can define a program. And the point of that conversation wasn't so much to focus on that, but to say what teams that I've been a part of that accomplish those things, what they do is they get energized to go out and practice and to train and to prepare. And this was a lesson I learned at Notre Dame from the players, where I started to worry about what their fatigue level was as we got into the teeth of the season, we'd come out and have the best practice we've had all year. And I realized that what it was just an excitement around playing and excitement around the opportunities that existed ahead. And I think that's an important mindset that we need to capture in our program, because we want to get accustomed to playing meaningful games in November. And we've talked about that this week, just how excited we are to play, how excited I am to play, how meaningful it is to play meaningful games in November, and how hard we work to get to this point. And then to realize the trappings of this moment, which become giving into kind of those feelings of having been in the grind now for so long. And these guys have done a nice job with that, but we just, anything that's external, we don't blend into our messaging. We don't try to put a focus on things that are outside of our control. That's just been the most effective way that we've been able to find success. And we don't need, so long as the thermostat's set right here internally, and we're stepping into this brotherhood, and we're caring about each other, caring about the mission, being stewards of the mission, we don't need extra motivation. We have a pretty big chip on our shoulder as it is. So every game's a prove it game for us. Every game's an opportunity for us to reach further in terms of the narrative that surrounds our program. But our focus is purely internally on our process, on our execution, on our focus, that we can find our highest level.
Last thing, Coach, South Carolina, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, coming off a win over at Texas A&M at home. What's it going to take to beat a Gamecock team, obviously with the defensive line that we've talked about, that can really wreck games?
Well, the number one priority is going to be ball security. We have to take care of the football on offense. Field position is going to play a big role in this. South Carolina is among the nation's best at average starting field position for their offense. They've played on a lot of short fields. Their defense has scored points. I thought in the A&M game there was examples of that. A&M took some risks on their side of the field that resulted in scores too. But ultimately, we got to protect the ball. We got to fight for the field position. I think offensively, establishing first and second down efficiency to get to third and manageable is going to allow us to sustain drives and ultimately get to our shot plays. It's a really good defense, and we don't want to get into a game where we're in a drop back pass mode and just trying to, block those edges for 4 quarters. I think we have to find creative ways to move the ball in the pass game and in the run game that neutralize the skills that they have on defense. And it's not just the edge players. I mean, this defense is really solid through the middle. So protecting the ball on offense, being opportunistic on defense. Obviously, we're going to have to stop their running game, which is very capable of both consistent play and explosive play. They're physical. Their quarterback's a run threat. And, if you don't stop them on first and second down, you don't have a chance to get them to third downs. And third down has been, probably, a point on their offense. It's been a weak point, but they're so effective and efficient early. And then the quarterback's ability to extend plays with his legs, caging the launch point and keeping him in the pocket becomes a real challenge. We played this game a couple times this season where you have an offense built around a strong and athletic quarterback. We're going to have to be disciplined and, like I said, play a physical brand of football on the run wall to be effective. And if we can do that and protect the ball, we have a chance to play in a tightly contested game where you find the win in the margins, and that's going to be the field position and maybe creating a turnover defensively to generate a short field and to score points.
It'll be Vanderbilt in South Carolina coming up Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Central Time. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Always good to be with you.
Clark Lee's weekly interview brought to you by the folks at Pancoast Benefits, and we appreciate them getting on board to help us do this. So, Billy, let me ask you a couple of things. Number one, do you think Diego Pavia will be named the SEC's most valuable player?
That's a good question, because most of the time it goes to a team that is at least top 2-3 in the league. No. I mean,
absolutely.
So I think that's what's holding him back. But I mean, he's some people around the SEC are calling him the best quarterback in the conference right now. Now, playing, and I've heard that in the context of most impactful, a team that couldn't do without.
Okay, stop there. There's no doubt, Billy, that he has had more impact on his team than any player in the conference, because for most teams, they don't have that far to go to get where it is they want to go, where Vandy has been a two-team, a 2-win thing a year. They were a train wreck.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're going after their 7th win. So his ability to, make his team better, I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah. By definition, a most valuable player. Yes. I mean, no doubt. But, he does play for Vanderbilt, and that's nothing against Vanderbilt. But, I mean, when's the last time Vanderbilt had an SEC Player of the Year in football?
I'm thinking it might be Whit Taylor, but I don't know that.
So, you have that, kind of clouding it. But, like I said, it typically goes to an upper echelon team. But right now, I mean, look, if Vanderbilt, and I know I've said this, I think they can get to 8 wins. It's not going to be nothing's going to be easy about it. But they've been proving people wrong all season. And so I don't doubt this team. I'm done doubting them. I don't put anything past them. But I do wonder, does there come a point in these last 3 games, you got 4 weeks, you got to bye after the Carolina game.
Which I think is vital.
Yes.
Because I think they're on a little bit of fumes right now.
Right. And everybody is. But Pavia and his mentality, I mean, he hasn't been healthy since that Alcorn State game. I mean, that's the game it started, and he kind of got back to a better point, and then Texas, he got hurt again. But he hasn't sat out. I mean, they've tried to limit him in practice. Clark said that doesn't really work. So he just wants to play. And so but I do wonder. I mean, you keep taking hits like that. You roll your ankle one more time. You never know how that turns. And it might come to a point, because it hasn't gotten bad enough to where you need to see Nate Johnson for more than one drive. But if you have to, this team has no shot. But it hadn't happened yet. So.
Here's the area where he contributes that probably nobody thinks about. They go on these long 7-8 minute drives. And when that happens, suddenly that's 7 or 8 minutes that their defense doesn't have to be out there. And so what is really happening, or at least I think is happening, is that as their defense is having to play less downs, they're not having to dig past the 15, 16 players on defense that they really want out there.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt over the years has gotten in big trouble when they've had to get into depth because they haven't had any. And all of a sudden, Pavia, with these ridiculously long drives, 7-8 minutes, they had the ball 42 minutes against Alabama.
Yeah.
Even then, it almost wasn't enough. But, that means that you're not having to play your defense that many plays, and you're not having to go past the 15 or 16 players that you truly want out on the field. If I'm making the case for Diego Pavia, that's part of it, is that his ability on 3rd and 2 to convert, even though it's not style points and it isn't always pretty, it's keeping their defense off the field. And this is the recipe right now. Now, can they do that against South Carolina? I don't know, because I'll admit, I was really impressed Saturday night. South Carolina will be under some pressure, though, in this game, because some of Shane Beamer's critics are saying, yeah, you can get all juiced up at home and the crowd's doing Sandstorm and they're all going crazy and you all get high as a kite. But then a week later, do you play with that same level of passion?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes in his first 3 years, the answer's been no, they don't.
It's been up and down, roller coaster. I will say a couple of years ago when they beat Tennessee, they turned around that next week and beat Clemson at home too. So, I mean, they've shown consistency in November, but still. And I think the good thing is this isn't the same Vanderbilt South Carolina has seen over the years. You know, they've had a big talent advantage and, quite frankly, a coaching advantage. I mean, there was a game a couple years ago in Nashville that they had a fake punt and just, I mean, they out-special teams to Vanderbilt. And there's been games, in Clark's first year, I think it was, they had a grad assistant quarterback drive down the field and win the game. And so they're scarred. I mean, South Carolina has scarred Vanderbilt over the years, and they've got to get that monkey off their back. But you're right, that Carolina defensive line, I mean, they dominated A&M. So that's the concern. Pavia is going to have probably his toughest test, defensive line-wise and pressure-wise. They've got to keep him upright or else they don't have a chance.
Okay, we're gonna take a couple of segments and open them up for you all. Here are a couple of things I would like to hear some of you get into. Number one, your reactions to the College Football Playoff Committee and the release of the schedule last night, which, by the way, was stupid to do on election night.
Did you see Reese Davis at the beginning of it?
I did.
That was pretty good.
It was pretty good. But to do it on election night was stupid.
Yeah.
Secondly, some of you all heard my rant yesterday about the Preds. Got any thoughts about it? Because I really let loose with some, what are they doing out there? And then just wherever you want to go. First of all, phone numbers. I need 3 or 4 red-blooded Americans to jump on the phones. 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. How do they text?
There's a chat room to the right of the YouTube screen where you're watching the show. Type your questions in now. We've got one so far, and we'll get to that one. But chime in. You can do it on Twitter and Facebook as well. Just swipe up on your phone if you're watching there, or your laptop. You can do the same. So we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, this is 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3030. 3400 and choose option 3. Or visit PancoastBenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company. 867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hey, this is Andrew Allegra, voice of Vandy football. Hope you can join me, Norm Jordan, and Kevin Ingram this Saturday from First Bank Stadium. Vanderbilt and South Carolina kickoff at 3:15. Pre-game coverage starts at 1:30 on 94.9 The Fan.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
I'm laughing. The commercial about high tide, where the guy goes, high tide, and they all look at him like, what the hell's wrong with you? And then finally the girlfriend says, it's roll tide.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, come on.
Where'd you see that?
Billy, that commercial's been out for a good month and a half. And I don't know what company it is, but the commercial's hilarious. Anyway, we'll do a mix between some phone calls and some texts. Here we go. Let's start with Frank in Smyrna. Frank, you're on 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, George. Hi, Billy. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Hope you are.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I've actually listened to you from down here in Siesta Key, Florida. I had to come down here to see what was going on with the cleanup and see how my condo was. I think I may have told you at the press game. It survived. Just the lanai had some windows, some screens blown away, but we're gonna get those fixed, and that's really the least of the problems down here.
I was going to say, no kidding.
I mean, it's this place. It's really sad, and to just drive through and see what those hurricanes did. I mean, but I will say, you walk out to the beach and it looks like nothing even happened. So it's and I will also say, on a sports note, it was odd driving by Tropicana Field and seeing that place with no roof.
Yeah,
I can literally confirm that roof is gone.
They haven't made an announcement yet, have they?
No,
of where that team's going to play.
Yeah, last I saw, they were going through options, and that Major League Baseball has said they wanted an answer by the end of the year, or by the end of this calendar year, I guess, end of next month. So, you would think the insurance on Tropicana Field that the city of St. Petersburg had would have taken care of it, but no one, nobody seems to know. The talk down here in the sports world about obviously about the Buccaneers and them not going for 2 against the Chiefs the other night. That's the big talk down here. But but the reason why I called, I did hear your rant yesterday about the Predators, and there has been far too many games. I'm a season ticket holder at 301. For those who don't know me or didn't know that, but I've been 301 Row E. I've been there since 2002, and with the price of parking, the price of you want to take my wife or my daughter, when we go down town before the game to eat, it's $75 to $100. Billy, you probably know that. If you take your girlfriend downtown, you know this, and George, you know it too. Parking just don't even get me started. I mean, traffic. the last 2 Saturday nights, it's taken me 30 minutes after the game was over to get out of downtown Nashville. That used to never happen. I'm over it. And if this is what this team is going to be like and play like this, yeah, my days of season ticket holder are about to come to an end because it's not worth the time and trouble for me to go. I expect better. This team has too much talent to be just fooling around like they're doing. I understand, they've got to gel and learn to play together. There's some new faces on the team, but good Lord, how long Stamkos been around? 20 years. Marchessault's been around forever. Brady Shea, he's been playing a while. Hockey's hockey at the end of the day. The game's the same. I don't understand. I don't think there's a locker room issue, George, or I don't think there is. I don't see how there could be. But their nights, they just look, like you said, lifeless. Like they just, I don't get it. And, I paid a lot of money for season tickets, and this is not what I want to say. It's not motivating me to get out, especially on a night like Thursday night in the rain on Halloween. Nah, forget it. I stayed home. And apparently I was the only one from what I'm hearing. The attendance was pitiful Thursday. Saturday night, okay, now I know they're up against the Vols game. I understand all that, even though I'm not a Vols fan, far from it. But it's beside the point. They used to always be full on Saturday nights. Now they're not. Something's badly wrong with our Predators, George, and it needs to be fixed.
Well, I wish I had the answers, and I don't have them. But what I do have is show me some effort. Start digging into the corners. Hockey is a brutal sport, and you got to score dirty goals. You got to mix it up, and you're not going to win from the blue line. And if Barry Trotz were on here at this moment, that's exactly what he'd tell you.
Look, I love the Preds. It's a blast going down to Bridgestone and seeing the Preds win a game and hear that goal song. But you haven't heard too many goal songs at Bridgestone this year.
It's been a little quiet.
That's the draw. The Preds scoring goals, and that was the hope this year, is a fun product. It hadn't happened. And I've said that before. I've said exactly what Frank has said before. It's not easy getting down there for a game a lot of nights, whether there's a concert at Ascend or other things going on. I mean, getting through Broadway, if you have to go park, it's not always easy to get a spot in time to walk over to the game. And the shuttle obviously has helped. And look, I love the Preds, but it's hard. It can be hard. And when you're not winning, this is what you get.
Yeah.
So you got to turn it around.
And tonight they're in Washington against the Caps. Frank, I got to run. Appreciate it.
Thanks, George, for letting me say my piece.
Absolutely. You did it well.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, give me a quick text.
Well, talk about the playoff reveal last night. Mm-hmm. Brent on YouTube, he said it's a good TV time filler. Lots more football, which is accurate. Lots more ball to play to see how it really washes out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm as guilty as anybody in the whole. We're nowhere close to the end, but still, when you see it put out there, you start saying, okay, here's what they're thinking.
Yes, and they brought up Indiana last night.
Yes, they did.
I think it was Joey Galloway who brought it up, and the panel agreed last night with him. With them at 9, and Heather Dinich too. She's from Indiana. Reese got into this with her. She said they lose to Ohio State, they're probably out,
and that's wrong.
Right, and so I think that like you said, that's a good sign. But all of a sudden, strength of schedule matters. Hence why Georgia is at 2. They've got the best schedule or a top 3 strength of schedule. So that's an interesting component.
Dave in Nashville, welcome into 94.9, The Fan.
Good afternoon, George.
What's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm an old listener of yours. Where's the General and Dr. Festmeyer?
The General, it's funny you bring that up because I am having lunch tomorrow with the General. I would say that the General is retired. Fess is, of course, a dentist. in town. We went to BGA together. He went on to a great career. Well, forget the dental part for a minute. He went on to a great career at Mississippi State as an all-SEC defensive back, and he's still here and has a dental practice that has gone great guns.
I'm missing another one on that show.
Well, let's see. Of course, the late Joe Biddle, who passed away a couple of years ago.
Duncan Stewart.
Oh, well, you're going way back if you're bringing up Duncan. Duncan was mid-'80s. Yeah. Duncan is in Reno, Nevada, enjoying life. I talk to him from time to time. I'm not as good about keeping up with Duncan as I should be. Normally, it takes him doing it.
Okay, one more thing. The 1982 Vanderbilt team, they played Air Force in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And can you remember any of the players that played on that team?
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're talking about on Vandy's team?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I went to school with a bunch of them. Whit Taylor was the quarterback. Norman Jordan was Watson's running back who would come out of the backfield against linebackers, catch a bunch of balls. Chuck Scott, Arnaz Perry, a great tight end in Alama Matthews, who became a Southeastern Conference official. Okay, on defense, Joe Staley. I laughed. Joe was a piece of work. He was a linebacker. Steve Bearden, big defensive end.
Jim Arnold.
Jim Arnold, good one. Very good one.
Great punter.
Great punter. How's that?
That's very good. Listen, I remember you when you used to call Memphis State games.
Oh my God! Did you live down there?
Yes, sir. I lived in Bartlett, Tennessee.
So you actually heard a game I did at Memphis State?
Yes, sir.
You want to hear something funny? So I was rummaging through some old tapes. My dad, and this was, the ultimate gift from a father to a son. My dad would tape all of my games. And when I was doing Vandy games, I'd go home. I'd go over to his house, pick them up, go home, listen to them. But there was apparently he taped an old Memphis State game of mine. How in the world he did that? So anyway, I happened to hear it about 3 weeks ago. I'll just call it shocking.
Okay, I remember you years ago. I used to listen to you all the time.
Thank you. I hope you'll
Thank you very much.
Tell a friend that we're out there, and better yet, tell 10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Didn't expect that, did we?
Bartlett, Tennessee.
Oh, I know exactly where Bartlett is.
It's right outside Memphis, right?
Yeah. It was.
Who's from Bartlett?
It was a strange year in my life. It was the first time I was away from home. I won't deny I was homesick. Quickly.
Rather quickly.
Real quick, like quickly. Okay, we'll go to the break. I know Tony from Nolensville is on the line. I know we got a few more texts. I need a couple more of you to jump in with whatever you want to get into at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. This is 94.9, The Fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
of dedicated. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that as the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Local decision makers. You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Guilty is charged that I don't get into college basketball the way I should in November. It takes me a little while to get into it, and then by the time we get to conference play, I'm a lunatic watching a bunch of games every night. If you get into it this early, Lipscomb at Arkansas tonight, John Calipari's debut as the Razorbacks coach is on the SEC network. By the way, if you dial hop, there are probably 8 to 10 games tonight that are on television.
Yeah, and, there's some good matchups they've got scheduled, even throughout this week. Friday night, they've got North Carolina and Kansas. And I know there's one more good one. You've got a late one, New Mexico, UCLA. But tomorrow, well, not much tomorrow.
Not much tomorrow.
Jacksonville in Florida. But look out for Lipscomb. I'm hearing this could be one of Lenny Acuff's better teams.
Tony in Nolensville, welcome into 94.9 The Fan.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Billy, you probably don't remember this, but this guy named Duncan Stewart, he went up on a billboard for 6 weeks.
He sure did.
And stayed up there because Tennessee would not win, was going winless.
Wait,
George
what?
telling the story.
1988.
Tell the story,
Tennessee.
George.
He physically went on a bill.
Yes. Tennessee opens 0-6. And at about 0-4, David Manning persuaded Duncan, perhaps with some money, to go up on a billboard, and Duncan did and stayed there. Now, I can tell this story now. Duncan thought he was coming down when Tennessee was going to host Washington State. I cannot remember the quarterback now. This is going to kill me. Rosenbaugh, Tim Rosenbaugh. And the problem was that Washington State had one of their best quarterbacks, one of their best teams in a long time, and they were up 31-0 like at the end of the first quarter.
Oh,
and
man.
to say that Duncan was depressed is an understatement because by then, Tony, he wanted off that damn thing.
George, wasn't he up there 2 or 3 weeks?
Oh, yeah, and in fact, it took Memphis State was the team that Tennessee beat to finally get their first win. And then they kind of took off. They played Vandy at the end of the season in a game. I don't know how many people remember this, but in a huge windstorm where a field goal try got blocked by the wind and pushed back.
I didn't realize this. Terry McCormick has a story on the Tennessean about this.
Yeah, and I did a
Ricky
bunch.
Anderson that tried to kick at George.
I want to say it was.
I might be wrong, but
I want to say it was a Tennessee field goal attempt.
maybe it was theirs. Okay, and the wind just knocked it down. It like hit a wall.
I had never seen something like that.
It was crazy. It was.
These pictures online are
Going down a different avenue. We actually have a championship this weekend. Something we don't talk much about here is a NASCAR. And there is a NASCAR championship this weekend with Ryan Blaney. I'm surprised Dr. Detroit hadn't called in about it. But Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano representing Team Penske. And then Tyler Reddick driving for the Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin team ownership. And then you're going to have William Byron driving for the Hendrick Motorsports. They're going to be out in Phoenix. And but this weekend concludes the NASCAR season. And one of those four will be your NASCAR champion. Is the NASCAR banquet back here again in December?
I don't know. We're going to look it up here in just a second. Let me ask you this. So it goes up against NFL football, which to me is a tough thing to try to crack through. What kind of numbers will they pull on Sunday?
I think they'll pull a reasonable amount of numbers. But like in any sport that goes up against NFL football, you know, that you could have the Titans and the Patriots this past week playing, and they're probably going to have higher numbers than the other programs that are up against it. But,
by the way, here's the info. Tony, the 2024 NASCAR Awards Banquet will be held at the Charlotte Convention Center Friday, November the 22nd. The banquet will honor the champions of the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Craftsman Truck Series. The event will be broadcast on the CW that Sunday, November the 24th, in a tape delay at 2 o'clock Nashville time.
Okay, because I did not know. I didn't know if they were going to try to make that permanent. I think they were here for 2 years anyway with it. And, of course, with them bringing NASCAR back to the raceway, I didn't know, you know, how much they were still going to be vested in here. And, of course, with all the looming talks that are circulating around the Nashville Fairgrounds, I didn't know exactly where everything stood on that. But, yeah, I wanted to just touch on that a little bit because I know we don't talk much NASCAR. And I don't watch it like I used to when it was the good old boys and the Alabama gang and DW going against all of them. But I do, you know, keep up with it pretty good. But I just wanted to touch on that. And the last thing I'll touch on to get off here is I do think the rankings that come out last night, shunning Vandy, you know, it would have been nice to see Vandy in a college football playoff ranking. Now, they go take care of business against South Carolina. They'll be in there next week. But it would have been nice to see them in there because, from 12 down, it don't matter much anyway. Maybe 14 down, it don't matter much anyway. But it would have been nice seeing them getting a little love and that type of thing. So I just want to say that piece. But guys, great show as always. But Billy, I knew you wasn't old enough. Probably might have been in diapers. I don't know, but I had to tell you that little story on Duncan Stewart a little bit. And I knew it really well.
I'll let Duncan know that you remembered it. Tony, thanks.
Yeah,
so,
that Georgia State loss is what.
Well, first of all, why is the committee doing a top 25? I mean, that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
Just set the bracket.
Yeah, give me.
Why do we need?
Give me the 12 and then the 6 or the 4. Yeah,
we don't need another ranking.
No,
just give us the bracket.
Yes. Clay in Nashville, you're on 94.9 The Fan.
Hello, George. Hello, Billy.
Hello, Clay.
How are y'all doing?
Good.
Good. Hope you are.
Have y'all ever seen, I was just sitting there thinking about it. The SEC is just absolutely brutal this year. I followed SEC football for a long time, and I've just never seen a conference, this tough. And as far as the playoff is concerned, for instance, I know Georgia still has to play Ole Miss and Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee plays Georgia. I was wondering if y'all knew the rest of Texas's schedule.
It's really just A&M. That's their only tough opponent coming up.
They host Florida this weekend.
And they play A&M the last game, don't they?
Yeah.
In College Station, which will be a bloodbath. Here's the thing. Clay, going back to April when the SEC did that schedule release on ESPN, I remember watching it going, college kids really have a hard time. If you give their school 3 brutal games in a row, in that third game, doesn't normally work out very good. And the problem is that too many of the SEC schools had these 3 and 4 week schedules. Now, get ready for this because the Ayatollah Sankey is going to put out the edict that we're going to 9 conference games, and the coaches are going to bitch up a storm.
Yeah.
Because they don't want any part of that. Because they're sitting there saying, we're getting beat up as it is. We may have left, here's one of the things the coaches want to know is this committee, are they going to penalize the SEC for having played all these Godzillas they play? Because if that's the case, at the whatever they call them, the spring meetings down in Florida, the coaches are going to let him know exactly what they think.
Yeah, George, you're a graduate of Vanderbilt. Of course, I'm not, but we've been Vanderbilt fans for a long time.
Well, I'm barely a graduate. Barely got in, barely got out.
I can never remember a turnaround, like this in 1 year. And Clark Lee has talked about, these closed door meetings they had, last December. And I just have to salute this guy for the job he's done, because the thing that really makes me proud about Vanderbilt this year, is these guys are tough. And I don't think you can ever really say that, Vanderbilt has had a team this mentally and physically tough. And that's just got to come from whatever this, transformation was that Clark did. And I think it's one of the greatest turnarounds I've ever seen in college football. I just have to salute the guy for the job he's done.
Only because we're about out of time. I got to run, but let's talk about it for a second. Clay, thank you. So the first piece of it was this was a disorganized mess a year ago.
It's awful.
The UNLV game being the poster child of how disorganized they were. So Clark was smart enough, first of all, to get rid of Joey Lynch, who had no business being an offensive coordinator at that level. Now, whether he stumbled into Jerry Kill or how it all played out, more power to him. Because since this guy joined and got involved with this staff, this is a way more organized deal. What they do on offense makes a lot of sense. You don't have me going, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
Like I did a year ago.
Yeah, and this could be a whole show. But long story short, halfway through the season, Clark knew they had to make wholesale changes in the coaching staff, and they did. Offensive coordinator, out. DC, out. Some other assistants, out. Players, out. I mean, this is a whole different team. So, and that's in December. That month of December, Clark's brought it up, was the hardest month of his life. He's publicly said that.
Okay, stop there. We got to go to the break.
Okay.
This is 94.9.
Let's
the
resume
Fan.
this later.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
Final segment on a Wednesday. Almost forgot the day. But it's time for Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. And let's take a look at what happened last night. Ball State and Mike New covered the plus 12.
That a baby.
Too many points.
Yeah, I thought it was too. Northern Illinois was good enough to beat Notre Dame and frankly has not been all that good since then. They are on the road tonight, and I am taking Northern Illinois -2 at Western Michigan. Don't forget that when you're dealing with the MAC, once you go MAC, you can never go back. By the way, the weather last night for the 2 MAC games, not great.
No, did you see that?
It was pouring
did you
at
see
both
that,
of them.
That I don't know if you call it a block punt, but the punter.
Oh, the punter attempted to.
He tried to throw it up, and that was the most MAC play of all time.
It was. It had a little bit of for an old group, some Garo Yepremian in the Super Bowl when Miami had the perfect season. I want to say 72. Garo Yepremian, they butchered a field goal attempt, and his attempt at a throw was sort of to palm the football and throw it about 2 yards, and it got picked off.
Yepremian.
Garo Yepremian. Yes.
That's a heck of a last
Yeah,
name.
well, he's a pretty damn good kicker.
I'll
back
go look
then.
that up. But you never know what's going to happen in these games. I mean,
No, because
good
the
luck.
weather is always bad.
Yeah.
If you'll notice, they seldom show you what the crowd looks like. They're trying very hard to hide the fact that the crowd is essentially
strategic camera
close
placement.
friends and family.
Yes.
And not much else. But it's 34 degrees with sleet and pouring rain last night. Would you go?
No.
Thank you. Tomorrow on the show, we're going down to LSU and talk with Matt Moscona about the big Bama LSU game Saturday night at Tiger Stadium. We'll have underdog picks where one of us will be celebrating. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the others will be saying, doesn't look real good.
Go Cougs.
Until then, see you tomorrow.